Hey guys, I'm Cody, the editor behind Past Life Pro, and for my first SEUS V11 shader tutorial, I thought it'd be a great idea to take a chance at getting you to understand all the settings/features in the shader options menu. 100% throughout, we'll be sticking to that in-game menu. More so that you will know what your limits are for customizing the SEUS V11 to your heart's content. I know I will sometimes reference the inner shader code, but for this tutorial, we'll be sticking exclusively in Minecraft. My friends, let's get started. So, for those that don't know how to access the SEUS V11's shader options menu, this is how you do it. Click the Options tab, Video Settings, and Shaders. To continue to the correct shader options menu, you would first need to have the SEUS V11 inserted into your Shaders Packs folder. Only then can you select the shader and enter the menu. Alright, we'll start with the tab that reads Profile. Consider this profile selector as your graphics preset holder. Inside, you got your low, medium, high, ultra, and extreme. Extreme being the best, and low being the worst. Custom being if you happen to change something in the inner settings. Throughout this tutorial, I'll be keeping the extreme preset. Atmospheric options. Atmospheric scattering. When turned on, this effect brings a sort of light bluish tint to darker areas of shadows. You can see this effect more so during the day, though believe me, the effect is very subtle, as it should be. If you want to adjust how apparent the effect is in-game, you'd use the rightmost adjustment labeled Atmospheric Density. Higher numbers increase the effect to the extent of what you may have seen in the modified SEUS V10.2, and lower numbers make it even more subtle than it already is. Atmospheric Haze. For this effect, you have the option to tell the SEUS V11 how much haze you want. By default, the value is set to 1.0. For the most haze, the highest you can go is 2.0. For the effect to be completely disabled, you'd go with 0.0. As for differences between these adjustments in-game, in particular 0.5 to 2.0, you can definitely tell that there are changes between them. They're more noticeable than atmospheric scattering by default, but still very subtle. Volumetric Clouds. Here, you have the option to turn volumetric clouds on or off. For whichever option you choose, I highly recommend you do the same for the HQ volumetric clouds, which is directly to the right. They both seem to be best used together, though the leftmost volumetric clouds seems to carry the bulk of the clouds. If you don't know what I mean, test out the two. It almost seems like the rightmost one carries nothing, but that's just what I found to be the case. Crepuscular rays. These rays are very likely what you've heard as volumetric light. Turn the setting on to see the beautiful 3D rays. Surface options. Texture pack resolution. Change this number to suit your specific resource pack. Example, let's just say you want to use SNK Photorealism 512X. To have lines not show up in blocks, I'd go with 512. And yeah, if it isn't already clear to you, you only need to worry about this setting if you have a resource pack that you want to see Palm working in. Parallax Shadows. It's hard for me to show you the differences between the effect being on or off, but keeping this set to on will allow the shadows to work more accurately into indentations of blocks. Of course, best seen with Palm working alongside it. I know Sonic Ether did make a post about this before he released the shader, so I'll likely overlay that. Water Parallax. With this feature set to on, you will witness an amazing composition of 3D waviness in the water. And with it off, you'll basically have 2D water. Though, with the current configuration of wave height in the gbuffers_water.fsh, you may not see much in terms of a difference, though mind you, there is. Parallax Occlusional Mapping. With this feature on, you allow normal maps hopefully set in your resource pack to project 3D effects onto the blocks you see in-game. Yeah, when blocks don't appear to look flat, rather they have a bit of realistic depth to them, that's Parallax Occlusional Mapping at work. You have the choice to keep this on or off. Force Wetness Effect. Leave this on to see reflections all over your blocks during rainy times. Turn it off to disable the wetness completely. This can be especially useful because even if your resource pack doesn't support specular mapping or PBR, you're still going to see puddles all over the place. While you're playing, if that doesn't seem right to you, well, you have the option to separately turn off specifically these wetness effects right here. Water Caustics. If you go take a look at any river during the day where the water is moving, you will see caustics. These are the wavy lines that do their business at the bed of the water. You have the option to turn these off or keep them on. Lighting and shadows. Shadow resolution. Higher numbers equal finer looking shadows. Lower numbers equal far more FPS gained back at the expense of quality. Soft shadows. If you want your shadows to look more soft, then perhaps you want this feature turned on. You want them sharper? Leave it turned off. Colored shadows. When light shines through colored glass, you'll see that light in the shadow. If turned off, the shadows will revert back to their usual dark shade. Global illumination. This is that light that's bounced from one object to another. At times, it may be slightly hard to see that this effect is active, but make no mistake, it never does fail to make things look a little bit more natural. You have the option to keep this on or turn it off to save FPS. Average exposure. Have you noticed that when you look at the sun, the brightness will auto-adjust itself? You have the option to turn this feature off right here, or you can keep it on if you'd like. Motion blur. Right here, you can turn on or leave off motion blur. Pretty self-explanatory. Exposure multiplier. If you think the SEUS V11 just looks a tad too dark, then you have the option to brighten things up with this setting. Higher numbers, up to 2.0, will definitely better expose the whites. Lowest you can go is the default number, so within the shader options menu, you can only get your result brighter or leave it the same. Shadowdistance. Let's just say you're a Minecraft filmmaker and you're looking to film a long distance shot. Well, the highest you can bring the V11 to go via the shader options menu is 240. To go higher, you complete the job via the composite.fsh and the composite1.fsh. Yeah, increase the number to increase the distance the shadows will go for, at the expense of some quality. Variable Penumbra Shadows. This feature seems to do something similar to the soft shadows feature that we covered earlier. Perhaps you want this, perhaps you don't. Pixel locked shadows. This is entirely off the top of my head, but wouldn't shadows that are locked to pixels look way more like what is casting the shadow? You'll definitely have to test this one out for yourself, since originally I didn't have a clue on this one. Now I have some idea as to what it can mean, but that's it. Good luck. SSAO. The best way to notice what SSAO is to look in between blocks in something of a lit up room. If turned off, you'll see an odd lack of shading in some areas. If you're looking for some extra FPS to gain, disabling this feature isn't a bad idea. Torchlight brightness. Let's say you're traversing a pretty dark cave with only your torch to give you light. Now the question is, do you need more light? Well, if you do, you can increase the number to increase the torchlight, 0.25 being your weakest option, and 2.0 being your brightest. Tone map curves. So, within this setting, you have 3 different options to change the look of your Minecraft. The number 2.0 will result in a more filmic look. You know, more grays. 3.0 is your default look. You know what that looks like already. 4.0 will instead result in a more vibrant presentation. Pick whichever one you like the most. Bloom strength. The difference between adjustments are likely best seen within the sun, but yeah, increase the number to increase the bloom amount. The opposite for smaller numbers. Advanced GI settings. GI quality. Default is 0.5. Higher numbers increase the quality of GI at the expense of some frame rate. GI resolution. If you're looking to add some more FPS to your game, I'd recommend you change the current number from 0 to 1. Yeah, your GI will be blurrier, but you get more FPS out of it. For the best visually though, I'd recommend keeping 0. GI Artifact Reduction. As it says in the summary, leaving this feature turned on will reduce artifacts on the back edges of blocks at the expense of some performance. So yeah, leave this off if you're still on your quest for the best FPS. GI Radius. I'm not too entirely sure as to what this means, though it does say that if you have low GI samples, it may help to reduce artifacts. You'll have to play around with this one to see what best works for you. Hey look! We made it to the end. It is about time. My friends, I wish you all the best for modifying the SEUS V11 to your heart's content. If this SEUS V11 tutorial was of any use to you, then do hit that like button. And before you go, don't forget to check out my channel for some more Minecraft tutorials, some pro quality cinematics, and a bunch of other videos that you shouldn't miss. Anyways, I'm Cody, and this is Past Life Pro, where creativity is always a part of my life, as it will be for yours. Alright, see you guys.